how humans got high in every time period. I actually like this guy's videos. I think they're very interesting. And yeah, it's last video.
Lifted in
Time's
every
gone.
time period.
Last video.
If you've watched our videos over the last few months, then you probably know about people's obsession with obscure chemicals. And typically I'm not this coy with my verbiage, but YouTube's been giving me a real paddling lately, so I'm trying to be a good boy. With that being said, I've only really discussed chemicals people are taking in the modern day, but human consumption of obscure chemicals far
No, the things people take today don't even compare. Like, oh my god, the things
predates
people
even
take
history
today,
itself.
bro.
So in this video, I'm going to discuss the favorite concoctions of humans in
good.
every
We're
time
so
period
good.
and
We're
how
so
to
good.
use
We're so
them
good.
to get high. Starting in the Stone Age. The Stone Age is one of the most interesting and mysterious time periods for substance consumption. Interesting because this is where it all started, and mysterious because of how unknown it really is. We have a rough idea of what exact plants were preferred during this time period, but we don't exactly know when they were first used or how often they were used at all. Some suggest that ancient humans dating back to our ape-like ancestors were using specific plants regularly, although there's rather limited archaeological evidence to support that, and others believe that the recreational consumption didn't begin until much later in human history, like roughly 10,000 years ago, which there is slightly more evidence for. But here's the thing, just because the evidence we have available to us shows that the earliest recorded consumption began around 8100 BC, it doesn't necessarily mean that's where it actually began. That's just all we have proof of. And unlike pottery, stones, or other artifacts, these organic compounds don't preserve well. With that being said, I know you guys come to trust me bro for only the most factual, historically accurate, nothing but the truth type content. No creative liberties.
I mean, they probably had to be, bro. I'm not gonna lie, they probably had to be, cause bro, the things they were doing, chasing down animals 24/7. It's just like, what else was it? Actually, what else was there to do, other than just get fried? Like,
Or stretching of
There's-
any truth.
there's nothing
We're all
else to
facts
do,
here.
just get
So with that
fried
being
and
said,
chase the
we're going to
animals, bro.
focus on the consumption after 10,000 BC, where the invention of farming, herding, and civilization likely facilitated the use of these compounds. Or I should really just say plants. At this point in time, they're just plants. They're not even, they're just plants. But if you did want to speculate about early use, feel free to drop a comment. I'd love to open that conversation. Okay, so now that we have a framework for the timeline, what were these people in the Stone Age, or at least from 10,000 BC and beyond, getting up to? What were they lighting up? What were they chooching on? What were they fiending for? Well, I'll tell you. For starters, cannabis seeds appeared in archaeological digs dating back as far as 8100 BC in Asia. Now, does that just mean that's when it was used? It's hard to tell because the evidence doesn't suggest that, although it is possible. What we do know, however, is that in China, there was strong evidence for ritualistic use of cannabis by 500 BC, which is obviously no longer in the Stone Age, so we'll touch on that later. What we do have evidence for not only consumption but also production of in the Stone Age is alcohol, specifically beer. By 10,000 BC, the Natufians have mastered the process of making beer. And although alcoholic beverages from this time period were significantly different than what we would consider to be modern day beer, the resemblance was there. Beer from 12,000 years ago had a rather low alcohol content of only 2 to 4% and often contained
Brother, what are they
additives
gonna
such
do with
as
that?
fruit
Come on.
or honey. And most oddly, varied in consistency
Wait,
from a
so-
clear liquid to a soupy mixture with floating solids and even pastes. Just imagine that. Beer soup with honey and fruit. Interesting.
Where were they-
Researchers also suggest that there's a
I'm not gonna lie. Let me think before I speak. Let me think. If somebody made a beer with some with fruit in it, I feel like that'd be pretty good, no? Like that'd be kind of. I feel like that'd be. They were onto something, bro. They were onto something.
possibility that these people had also domesticated cereals, no, not the breakfast food, the actual grain category, for the specific purpose of brewing beer with them instead of eating them. As strange as this early beer sounded, it actually served a dual purpose.
Wait, would
Not
that be
only was it
trash?
likely
Am I
enjoyable for the
tripping?
people consuming it, but it also was a great alternative to water, as
It's-
the alcohol
Brother, it's a taste, bro. It's a taste. Not saying I've done it. This is all allegedly, but it's a taste. It's a taste for sure.
in this soupy mess killed
Doesn't
harmful
taste good,
bacteria
bro.
that would have otherwise
Stay away
made
from
these
it.
people sick. And this
Doesn't
is going to
taste
be a
good at all.
trend throughout all of history, both brewing
Not to
beer
me, at
and
least.
also drinking
It's all
alcohol
allegedly, by the
to
way.
avoid
I've
dirty
never had
water.
any.
So while people in the Middle East were making beer, what was going on in North America? Well, Actually, a lot of things. Some of the primary and favored plants during the Stone Age were tobacco and coca. These were, of course, discovered and used by indigenous Americans, who not only liked their stimulants,
I don't
but
do
also
that
had a
stuff,
particular
bro.
fascination with the
I am-
psychedelics as well. Some of the available natural
I don't do
selection
that
of
stuff.
psychedelics include peyote, morning glory, datura, salvia, ayahuasca, and over 20 different species of magic
I don't do- I
mushrooms.
don't
To me, it's
part-
no wonder
I
that
don't
indigenous
participate in that
Americans
stuff at
were
all, bro.
so spiritual. You could be on the prairies foraging for natural goods and come back with a basket full of 20 different types of psychedelic. Insane. One interesting tradition
know
that the
people who do
indigenous
that.
Americans had when it came to tobacco
I'm
and
real.
some of these hallucinogens was
I would try it. I just want to see what it's like. Cause like, okay, look. Imagine if I'm just like the funniest human being that ever lived when I do it, right? Then
nasal
would try it,
administration,
just to see.
specifically inhaling tobacco through your nose, which I can
curious
only
person,
assume
bro.
must have hurt, but I
Curiosity
guess
killed
to
the
them
cat.
it was enjoyable. They must know something we don't. One interesting
what?
piece of history is when the Spanish conquistadors visited the Mayan people, they were horrified by the Mayans' drug trips and saw it as the devil's work, which, if you know anything about Mayan history, I don't fully blame them for that, considering some of their traditions. For example, human sacrifices, skull towers, slaves made into skin suits. Stuff like that
19.
doesn't strike me as angelic, per se. But however you look at it, psychedelics were a major part of development and tradition for indigenous American
Everything
people.
I just
The
said was
reason why
allegedly,
people
by the
would
way.
use these
Never
plants
had any.
varies
Just
for
like, if I
most
were
of
to
the
have
same
it, like-
reasons that people do
like, from what
even
I've heard
in this
from
day.
people,
People are looking
it's
to
just
either
a really
ease
bad
pain,
taste.
experience a pleasant sensation, connect with a higher power, gods or lost loved ones, or simply provide them more energy to hunt, work, and endure Stone Age life. One popular Stone Age plant that was used to serve all of these purposes was the coca leaf. The coca leaf was readily
that mean to
available
use
and was
chocolate?
easily consumed, primarily being mixed with lime and being chewed until they had a stimulant effect. At that point, they would spit out the leaves and do it all over again, with some
Also like
people
tobacco.
chewing this stuff all day long. Although the exact origins of specific usage isn't known, it is confirmed that
The fuck? Wait, I kind of want to see it now. What? What? You can get this on Amazon? Wait, no way. It said you unk. Wait, that's wait, look at look at this, bro. What the fuck? Yo. Oh, fuck no. There's one in Serbia. Fuck no, I can't lie. Nah.
that some of the earliest traditions for mind-altering chemicals date back
I wanna
all
go to
the
a
way
museum,
to
bro.
at least 10,000 BC, and some fan favorites
I wanna go to a
include
museum.
tobacco, coca
That seems
leaves,
so,
and
like,
a
it's so
bundle of
interesting.
psychedelics.
Depends what
And
the museum you go to, though. I guess. Like that one where they have like the murderer stuff. I would go to that one. That one seems cool.
Can't forget beer soup, the Bronze Age. The Bronze Age is really exciting because we have a lot more facts and a much larger variety of substances to cover. The plants we discovered in the Stone Age are
Do they
still
have
around,
wine?
but we now have some new discoveries as well. One of the biggest and most impactful is opium. The opium poppy was first cultivated in Southwest Asia and is
Like-
one of the oldest medicinal plants in recorded history. The first mention of the opium poppy was found on Sumerian
Like
clay
King Carson?
tablets from about 3000 BC, near the very beginning of the Bronze Age. These tablets were found at the spiritual center of the Sumerians, located just south of Baghdad, and appeared to describe the cultivation of the opium poppy, including the collection of the poppy
were just
juice
doing
in
anything
the
they could
early
find,
morning,
honestly.
as well
I'm
as
not
the
gonna lie.
production
That's
of
what it's looking
opium
like.
itself. The Sumerians literally named
Anything they can
opium
get their
gil,
hands on.
or happiness, a term that is still applied to opium in certain cultures today. Pretty crazy how long this stuff has been around and how influential it was. It likely is one of the most influential plants on this list. Besides opium, archaeologists also discovered
Dude,
well-preserved
this guy
strands
is
of
all
human
he
hair in
does. Like bro, I love his videos. I'm subscribing. His videos are so good. That's not his video. But bro, his videos are so good.
a 3,000-year-old burial site in Spain, revealing trace amounts of 3 different alkaloid substances associated with altered states. Now, they don't exactly know what these psychoactive substances were used for, but it is speculated that they were used for recreational purposes. Another huge innovation and entry into the lifted realm was wine. Early
I knew
wine
it.
has
I knew
actually
it. Oh,
appeared
I
in
knew it.
Egyptian pictographs, and by the early Bronze
what
Age,
that
the
is? That is
pictographs
not like-
actually showed the production of wine
Oh my
and
god.
beer
have
as
y'all
well.
I just thought about that one video, bro. Oh my god. Wait, I can't even. Bro, oh my god. Wait, I have to find it. I actually have to find it. Stewie grape. Wait, where's the real one? He listed all this. I don't know why I just thought about this.
These buckets are filled with grapes. What kind of grapes?
I don't
These
know
are
why I
filled with
just thought
Chamberson
about
grapes.
this.
And the winner this Saturday, who's talking music, eating international foods. To arts and crafts. It's a lot of fun. A whole day. Stop. I can't. Stop. I can't breathe. Stop.
Oh my god, bro, I love this video so much.
Seminars, arts and crafts. It's a lot of fun. A whole day. Stop. I can't. Stop.
Oh my god, I can't, bro.
X0 Grace 89 says whoa ho 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 ooh ooh ooh.
Why did it just make that noise? I'd be down to play a horsey game. Loki be down. I'll play like on Thursday. I have to play scary games on so I have to play scary games tomorrow. I'd be down to play it Thursday though. Oh my god, that is hilarious, bro.
And they didn't just display it as some crazy thing. They showed it like it was business as usual. This stuff has been around. At the time, wine and other alcoholic beverages were not only used for pleasure, but they were also used for nutritional, medicinal, and religious purposes. Imagine if they advertised wine that way
I have to play
today.
all
In
horror
2600
games.
BC, a Chinese emperor was actually studying the impact of alcohol on the public's health. He was curious why people did not live as long as they did before. And one of his people claimed, nowadays people use wine as a beverage.
I know if I play it, if I try to play it Wednesday and then get to horror games, I'll end up playing it all day. That game looks addicting, bro. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that game looks fun.
And they adopt reckless and unusual behavior.
So
they
I'll give
devote
it
all
its
their
own day.
attention to amusement of their mind, thus cutting themselves off from the joys of a long life. Their rising and retiring is without regularity. It's crazy how even 5,000 years ago, alcohol was having a negative impact on people's lives. And today, it's still popular as
Nah,
hell.
I've seen
At
it,
this
though.
time, China was
I
really
haven't
on
played
some
it,
other
but I've
stuff.
seen it.
Because not only were they investigating the impacts of alcohol on the public,
Like, I've
but
seen
they were
moments
also
from it.
bringing to market some of the most influential medicines of all time. During the Bronze Age, Emperor Sheng Nong discovered a wide range of medicines almost
I think it's in my
5,000 years
my
ago.
wish
These
list, bro. I
include
think
the
I was
first
gonna play it. Like, I was gonna
caffeinated
buy it. I
tea
was gonna
and
play
ephedra,
it.
which was used
I think
to
it's in my
make
wish
amphetamines.
list.
Emperor Shen Nong prescribed tea for malaria, rheumatism, and poor memory. Caffeinated tea was also commonly an antidote to poisonous effects of other herbs. Ephedra was a natural stimulant that helped with asthma and was probably
I
used
did,
for
I
other
actually-
things too. There's a reason that
I did, bro. I want to play it again because I want to see the other ending. But I went to hell. I might upload it on YouTube. I don't know. The last one didn't do too well, so I'm probably not going to. But I went to, listen. Okay, I went to heaven. God
people still reference ancient Chinese medicine today. Even back in the Bronze Age, they were really on their stuff. Besides the discoveries of opium and amphetamines and wine, there was obviously a ton of development going on with tobacco, beer, and psychedelics. Tobacco was being traded
They were
and
taking
cultivated,
mushrooms back
beer
then?
production was being improved, and shamans were using psychedelics as a gateway to the other side. Definitely an interesting time to be around. Similar to the Stone Age, all of these substances had similar purposes, with a primary focus on religious and medicinal benefits, of course with some leisure mixed in there as well. The Iron Age. At this point, human development is ramping up to full speed.
I wanna make
and
I
honestly,
used to
a
wanna
lot of
make
the
a
plans that
roller
we
coaster on
discussed
Minecraft
are
so
still
bad.
very much favored and very much so in use, with the only real difference being the scale of production and cultivation, as well as the documentation of their benefits and use cases. One of the most commonly cited plants that we see in the Iron Age is something you're likely familiar with. It may be something you're enjoying right now, that being cannabis. During this time in history, cannabis use was widespread, and use cases vary drastically, and
people
some
did
of
that
them
shit
are
yesterday.
kind of funny. In Mesopotamia, several clay tablets were found in a library that contained references to cannabis. Most of these references indicated the plants were used for either magical healing purposes or to drive away evil spirits or even illnesses, which is interesting. On
Yo.
the contrary,
Yeah. Yo, the way I don't that stuff. The way things have. What do you mean it was used to drive away evil forces or heal people? It does none of that stuff now.
contrary, over in China, the use of cannabis in medicine was very early in its development. But according to a famous early book on Chinese herbal medicine, known as the Divine Farmer's Matura Medicina, cannabis, if taken in excess, will produce hallucinations, literally seeing devils. On the other hand, moderate use over a long time has benefits. If taken over a long time, it will make one communicate with spirits and lightens one's body. Definitely an interesting interpretation of the plant, and I feel like they were smoking some strong stuff. During this time, opium is also traded among the Silk Road. No, not that Silk Road, the actual Silk Road. And I think one of my favorite pieces of history from this time period is this. In the year 3 BC...
I don't blame him, bro. I don't blame him. Because there's... Genuinely... I don't think I would survive. No. Don't say that. Don't say that. Yeah, bro. It can cure every illness, bro. It'll just take you out completely. It'll take everything away. Everything.
There was
I don't think I would survive. Like, I don't think I would survive in any of these ages.
Contest in Greece that
I would
led
be
to
so
the
bored.
death of 41 people. It is reported that a Greek
Like, what would I
drinking
do?
contest revealed that 41 contestants died of alcohol poisoning. Oddly enough, the winner did not die, at least not immediately. He actually took home prizes which included more wine, but he only lived for 4 more days before dying. Absolutely insane that there was drinking contests in 3 BC, and also the fact that so many people died at the same contest. That is wild. Near the end of the Iron Age, alcohol became the prominent psychoactive substance during the Roman Empire. Catholic Christianity became the state church of the Roman Empire, and since alcohol was often produced by abbeys and monasteries, it became the people's favorite. During this time, we weren't just limited to beer or wine. They also had introduced cider
crazy
and mead
statement,
as
bro.
well. And it was also around 100 BCE when Rome had caught up with Greece in wine production and trade. One interesting artifact that was found in the Iron Age are stones carved into mini mushrooms by the Guatemalans. A set of 9 mushrooms was found
That is the
believed
creepiest
to
thing
be
I've ever seen in my life. What? That is.
associated
If I
with the
saw
9
that out
lords
in the
of
wilderness
the night and
somewhere,
gods of
bro,
the underworld.
I
One
would-
study of
I
these
would think
miniature
I'm
sculptures suggests
tweaking.
that these stones may
I
have
would
been
think I'm
used to
losing it.
grind up the mushrooms to prepare them for ceremonial consumption, which is cool, but it's also crazy that they also depicted 9 lords of an underworld on their mushroom carving. They must have been seeing some stuff. It was also at this time
I thought the same thing. I just didn't want to say it, bro. I'm gonna be real. I thought the same thing. I just didn't want to say it.
and when Plato argued
Like,
that alcohol is a
I'm not
good
gonna lie.
test of someone's character.
thought it was a
Plato
little weird.
argued that drinking with someone is the simplest, fastest, and most reliable way to test someone's character. This is because wine stimulates the emotion, including desires or pleasures
really?
of questionable moral worth. So if you want to get to know someone
wine was
else's
just like
character,
grapes
or
full of
even your own
alcohol.
character, according to Plato, get drunk. Interestingly, in Asia, the Persian king
Hey, if he
advised
said
his
it.
army to take advantage of their opponent's lack of experience of alcohol to defeat them.
Yeah.
It literally used feast and alcohol as a military strategy. The idea was if the Persians were able to provide their enemies with large, generous portions
is
of
he
lam
doing?
and large amounts of wine in
What
which
is
they
he
had no
doing?
experience with, they
Look
would
at-
become so infatuated with the feast and compelling feeling of this drink that they would be
Yo.
too distracted to even compete with the Persians in accomplishing great things. Definitely an interesting strategy. Chewing coca leaves was still popular as ever in the Iron Age.
Is
and
that
they
like
even
tobacco?
discovered multiple ceramic
what?
figures depicting
It has to be.
characters
What else do
chewing
you
coca
chew other
leaves
than
from
tobacco?
500 BC. So if you wanted to know how people got lifted in the Iron Age, the Greeks and Romans were literally turning into frat bros, drinking until they died. People in Asia were smoking until they saw the devil, and people in Guatemala were taking mushrooms until they saw the 9 lords of the underworld. I think the most normal thing to come out of this time period and their psychoactive
I think there
substances
is- there-
Plato's
I think there
analysis on
is some
alcohol.
type of
It definitely was a funny time.
There is some type of tribe that does that. I just don't know what. I think there at least there was. I don't remember. I just don't remember who.
One of the craziest substances we've talked about on this list
what I'm
is now
saying.
about to be revealed. Technically, it was used at the end of the
That's what I
Iron
thought, at
Age,
least,
end of the
but
beginning,
apparently you
and
can use them to
during the
get
Middle Ages.
fucking
But I wanted to add it
geek.
here because this chemical is just so crazy and so insane. What I'm talking about, of course, is cacao, also known as chocolate. During this time,
What? 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 Wait, what? I don't get it. I don't get it.
from roughly
Wait.
250 AD to 900 AD, there was an abundance of physical and symbolic traces of cacao and chocolate left behind, specifically by the Mayan people. This evidence includes both physical evidence of cacao residue left on vessels, basically little pottery bowls and stuff, as well as cacao being mentioned directly on scriptures. It was believed that cacao was used for social, religious, and, once again, ritualistic factors, which is interesting. It kind of reminds me of like that live live action Charlie the Chocolate Factory movie wwhere they're in the forest with the Oompa Loompas, like when he first makes connection with them and they're like having
Yeah,
this religious
GG,
connection to the cacao plant. It's
GG,
basically
bro.
like that. Maybe that's what it was inspired by. But yeah, the Mayans were loving their chocolate. Around 900 AD, we also see the first mention of coffee in print. This was found printed
these are
by a
not
Persian
drug-
physician
these
in
are not
Iran.
like-
And it's interesting how long it took us to get from tea to coffee. But yeah,
Dude.
another crazy psychoactive substance. So far, they're just having
No,
the
you're-
average morning meal. Nothing too crazy so far. The
Do you feel
travels
any
of
different,
Marco
bro?
Polo from roughly 1200 AD noted that rice wine was actually more popular than grape wine in
Ew.
China, saying, quote, "Most of the people in China drink wine of a kind that I shall not describe. It is a liquor which they
That
brew
is
of
true.
rice with a quantity of excellent spice, in such a fashion that it makes better drink than any other kind of wine." I guess it kind of makes sense geographically why they would prefer a rice wine over a grape wine, but it's interesting that somebody who is used
You
to
know,
grape
I genuinely did not know like you could be a like I didn't know caffeine was like considered an actual like addiction until like a few years ago. Genuinely, like it's like an actual addiction. Like it's kind of weird. I never
wine
knew that,
actually
bro.
preferred rice wine.
Genuinely never
He
knew
also
that.
made sure to note that, quote, "Rice wine makes one drunk sooner than any other wine." China was really just living it up at this time. They were smoking
an
until they saw
actual
devils,
conviction,
and they
like
were
on the
drinking
same- like
until
it's
they
the
could
same
not
level
anymore.
as
Well, maybe not anymore. That was the
that one
Greeks. The
stuff.
Greeks were drinking to death, but China was probably in close
think,
second.
like,
It was around this time we
apparently
also
it's,
started
like,
to see
really
the
bad.
prohibition of certain substances.
Like, if you get a- like, if you
specifically
get addicted
cannabis
to it,
in
it's,
the
like,
Middle
really
East.
bad.
Wine and gambling at this time were explicitly prohibited in the Quran, but there was no specific text that gave guidance on hashish or cannabis. The general legal attitude was that cannabis should be banned despite the
Like,
fact that it
chat,
was
like, I'm not
widely
gonna lie.
used among
Like I like a good energy drink. Okay, I like a good energy drink, a good coffee, but I keep it to a bare minimum one a day, bro. Like I'll always keep it to a bare minimum one a day, like at least one a day. Maybe not even, bro. Like maybe like once every other day. Like I have my limits, bro.
Muslim populations. Occasionally, governments tried to take a drastic step against it, but with little success.
No.
From
Some girl, she had like like four something that like four plus Alanis, and she got cooked. And the family tried suing too. That's the craziest part to me. The family tried suing. I don't know why. Why'd you let your kid have 4 Alanis? What'd you think was gonna happen, bro?
1223 to 1277, there was a prohibition on wine and cannabis that involved the death penalty for those who used either. But it's noted that this prohibition didn't stop consumption and only caused the killing and maiming of people. So, although they were trying to get rid of wine and weed, one thing that they were ramping up production of was coffee. During this time, the first coffee trees were being cultivated on the Arabian Peninsula. And at first,
Coffee
coffee
tree,
was
that's a
used for
thing?
medicinal and
Yeah, there's a
religious
tree for
purposes, like many
everything,
chemicals
bro.
of this time.
Like,
Funnily
oh,
enough, the way that this
shit.
was used for religious purposes was claimed that it would be used to help people stay awake during long religious ceremonies, which to me is hilarious because it's like, here, take this. This is going to be long and boring. But hey, if it works, it works. Honestly, medieval times seems like a pretty chill time with a lot of cool innovations like
was a
chocolate and
cool
coffee,
village,
and also
no?
some interesting attempts
hell?
at prohibition. I
Never
think it's
seen a
safe to
village
say
like
that
that
at this
before.
time, the most common substance of choice was definitely alcohol, as its recreational use was ramped up significantly. I think one interesting example that showcases this pretty well is the fact that they used distilled spirits as a prescribed medicine during the
What?
Black Death. During the mid-1300s, distilled spirits were prescribed by doctors during the Black Plague, with the thought that it would help them fight off the disease internally. Ironically, this led to a lot of
Just give him that F word, bro. Just give him. I don't even know if I can say that word on Twitch, so I'm not going to. But like, just give him the stuff, bro. Might as well at this point. If you're just going, you get sick and you just get to drink a bunch of whiskey. What is that gonna do?
overconsumption of alcohol because people
Like,
wanted
what is
to
that
be
gonna do?
extremely
I would love
cautious,
to be
which
a
is just
doctor
kind of
back then.
ironic and
Yeah,
hilarious
you
to
had
think that people would
nothing.
be chugging
Nothing to do.
essentially medieval vodka to help protect them from a extremely deadly disease. I guess at that point, if you're gonna go out, at least go out happy. Medieval times,
True.
dope. The early modern era. The early modern era is an extremely exciting time for people enlightening themselves, specifically because there is so much recorded evidence of different use cases, prohibitions, legalizations, declarations, and other recorded events associated with different psychoactive chemicals. And
That reminded me of someone's mom sued the OG Apex Legends for her son's seizure. She said it was from the insane head bop you couldn't turn off. Bro. Like, I would be so mad at... I don't even Bro, the thing is, I don't even like EA as a company. But, like, this is just so stupid. Like... Did she win? If she won, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Genuinely.
Spoiler alert, there's not a ton of new introductions. However, the use cases
Like, if she
of the
actually
chemicals
won,
and
that is
plants
so
that we've
stupid.
described so far have definitely taken a change and
If
now
your
have
son
adapted
if you know your son has a problem and you're letting him play it anyway, that's on you, bro.
some interesting relationships
Genuinely
with
on
different
you.
cultures.
I don't know what to
For
tell you,
starters,
bro.
in 1475 AD, in Turkey, the world's first coffee shop was opened, which is
What? What are we talking about? What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Oh my, oh my god. Yo, I did not expect that. Yo, what the fuck? Is that real? I feel like I've heard that somewhere. I actually feel like I heard that somewhere, but like, oh, I was not expecting that, bro. I was not expecting that at all.
really cool to think that coffee shops have been around
Holy
for so long.
shit.
Over in Europe, the introduction of the
You
print
have to blame it on Apex Legends. Yo, out of all things to blame it on, bro. Like,
press has allowed a
oh
broader
my
distribution of
God.
information about alcohol, which is a huge
I
win for
can't,
safety.
bro, I
For a
can't.
short
Out of
period of
all the
time,
things to
coffee
blame
was
it
actually
on,
banned
bro.
in Mecca, as it was claimed to be an intoxicant, and the governor of Mecca actually
banned
shut
coffee?
down all of the coffee houses, although shortly after his superior overruled him and opened them back up. Excitingly, cacao had made its way over to Europe. First at Spain,
Genuinely,
and then
dude,
the rest
she
of
thought
Europe.
she was
the first
so slick.
official voyage
Bro.
of cacao got delivered from modern-day Mexico.
I love when like people do shit like that. Like think they so slick and they get caught immediately. Like, cause you can just see
to
how
modern-day
fucking
Spain
stupid they
in
look. It's so fucking
1585,
funny.
and at the time, cacao was served as a drink. Also at this time, smoking was introduced to the Europeans from indigenous Americans. Initially, Spanish friars in the Caribbean and Mexico believed that tobacco was the devil's weed, and the traditional indigenous smoking of it was sinful. However, French and English voyagers took note of the practice of smoking tobacco and brought the idea back home to Europe, where it quickly spread across Europe, Middle East,
So
Africa,
this is how it
and
started.
Asia. It's almost
Or
hard to
this is how it
imagine
started.
Europe without tobacco at this point. Shortly after the
This is-
popularization
this is
of
why
tobacco,
420 is a
once
thing now.
again, during the plague, physicians were recommending tobacco as a disinfectant, and even stated that people who smoked tobacco regularly had lower rates of infection. And one of the funniest things is that Pope Clement VIII declared coffee as a Christian drink, specifically because most people associated it with Islamic culture, because it was brought to Europe by traders from the Middle East. It's stated that Pope Clement tried coffee for the first time and then decreed it as a Christian drink, which is kind of hilarious. Could you imagine being a trader for the
It's
Middle
like
East, bringing
I don't know. The thing I really don't know. You have to be like sick in the head. We just, oh my god. I mean, it happens, you know. I would try it, bro. I would try it. But we just watched, no, I wouldn't say just watched. It was like a couple weeks ago. But like this mom, she got in an argument with her son. She went outside of the house, grabbed her gun, and as he was walking away, she shot him. Like, I don't know what's wrong with people, but like, I think you just have to be crazy. I don't think there's a real reason behind it. Yeah, but I don't think there's a real reason behind it. You just have to be crazy. Like, you just have to be
gift
not
to the
just
Pope,
not all there.
sharing your culture with him, watching him try it for the first time and seeing the delight on his face, only for him to instantly decree, yes, this is great. This is a Christian drink. Thank you so much for this Christian drink. And they're like, actually, we've been, you know what, sure. Crazy, but, you know, times were different.
Why did they let
During
him get
this
away with
time,
that, bro?
prohibitions are popping up and
What?
down everywhere, and coffee houses are exploding. Not literally, just they're getting popular. Maybe a few exploded, I don't know. In 1663, English coffee houses were actually required to be licensed. And in 1676, the first coffee house opened up in Boston. And believe it or not, it wasn't a Starbucks. During the 30-year War, Dutch soldiers kept bottles of what was known as Dutch courage on their belt, which was actually a flask of gin. During these battles, the British actually took note and began doing the same thing as well, which I don't blame them. If I was in a war that was 30 years long, I think I'd be sipping a little bit too. Tobacco prohibition was
Bro, I'm not
happening in
gonna lie.
both
I'm
Russia
surprised people don't
and
do that
Japan,
now.
although in Japan it was relatively short.
Bro, oh
So
my
yeah,
god. If
during
people
the
get
early
drafted from this era, they're gonna be bringing vapes and all types of shit on the fucking battlefield. It's gonna be so good.
era, the legendary
Oh my
combo
God, it's gonna
of
be so
coffee
good
and
before it's
cigarettes was
over.
booming, essentially all over the world.
It's
And
gonna be
although some
so
people wanted to
over,
ban
bro.
it, there was really no way to go
They
about
gonna
it. As
be
the trade
mid battle. They both gonna stop to take a fucking Pen
was
break.
booming, and people wanted their caffeine and nicotine bad. It's so interesting to see the
Fucking
first
horrible
discovery
combo.
of a plant, and then worldwide stores selling a product made from this plant pop up in the matter of 100 years. That's just, to me, so cool to see. Humans are honestly awesome, and that's why I love these time period videos. But we're still not done yet. The modern era. One of the first and
Low-key,
most
bro.
significant events
They
that took
be
place
eating MREs, bro. I said MRI. I'm a dumbass, yo. MRI is crazy. They be eating MREs, bro. I'm not ready for that shit, bro. I will rejoice, my nigga. I'll be jumping for joy if I see that shit. What?
was
What
the
the
London
fuck?
gin craze. The
be
English took
jumping
their
for
interest
fucking
in
joy
Dutch
if I see
courage a
that.
little bit too
KFC
far,
and
because
watermelon?
now, after
Brother.
the king and parliament encouraged the
the
production
fuck
of
I like
gin
to
to
see?
increase the price of grain and provide tax revenue, this
the
resulted in the
hell?
price of gin dropping dramatically, which exponentially
love that
boosted the
shit.
consumption, particularly among the poor. Now that the gin was so cheap,
Might
any
actually motivate me
regular
to
old
fight.
person could afford to maintain a solid buzz 24/7, and this was causing havoc among the British people. I think there was a lot of reasons to drink during the early 1700s, especially in London. Religious dissent, rebellion, corrupt politicians, displaced people, all factors that were contributing to an unstable society. People were packed in tight, small, dirty rooms. Living and working conditions sucked. Most people were poor, so if there was any sort of joy or escape that you could afford, why wouldn't you? The upper class blamed the production of gin for all of the issues that British society was having, but realistically, the consumption of gin was only because of how low the quality of life was at this time. The government did eventually begin to control the gin craze through a series of what was known as gin acts. That alone is a pretty crazy start to the modern era. In 1832, a French chemist was the first person to isolate codeine, which is a alkaloid of the naturally occurring opium that at this point has
Lucky?
been used for hundreds of years. Codeine is still widely used today,
There's
and
no
in modern
way.
times is synthesized from morphine through a chemical process.
I thought
Moving
that was
over
like
to
a-
China,
holy
Emperor
sh-
Yang
really?
Sheng prohibited the
I didn't know that was
sale
that
of
old.
opium for smoking. It was still legal to use medicinally, but if you were using it recreationally, you were killed. Although this didn't really have an impact on any of the trade
fuck?
routes or consumption because
Killed?
officials were for the most part corrupt, and the demand and supply
No.
chain was stronger than the government could keep up with. A separate French chemist also discovered morphine, which, like codeine, comes from the opium plant and is still used heavily to this day. And during the early 1800s, it was prescribed by physicians often for pain relief. But by the 1870s, physicians began to express concerns because of the morphine habit that it was causing, which is, of course, a pretty severe addiction. In 1869, the Prohibition Party was established in the United States of America, which was essentially looking to achieve widespread social reform about alcohol, and wanted to have legislation that would prohibit the sale and manufacturing of alcohol in the US. And seemingly one by one,
Wait, so you're
countries
telling me-
began to prohibit different substances for different reasons. It's also at this time that we see a lot of interesting companies pop up. For example, Folgers Coffee Company was founded
Oh,
in
shit.
1850. Miller Brewing
really?
Company was founded in 1855.
What the
Lipton
fuck?
Tea was established in 1890, and Coca-Cola was invented in 1886.
Yo, didn't
Besides
they
companies
have didn't the old Coca-Cola used to have like the white stuff in there?
popping up, we also see a lot of drugs.
Is that true or
We
no?
saw amphetamines being introduced. We saw
don't know. I
LSD
feel like it's
synthesized
true.
in
Has
the
to
late
be.
1930s. We saw oxycodone first synthesized in the 1910s. And in the
Man,
1940s,
this is where shit that
people in
like,
Japan
real,
got
bro.
their first taste of meth.
Holy
I wonder where
voice
they got
crack.
it from.
What the fuck?
What were Japan and Germany up to in the 1940s? The modern day is honestly a super interesting time because we see the industrialization of all of these compounds that, for the most part, have been around for hundreds and thousands
But nah,
of
this is
years.
where shit
And
got
not only do we see a
real,
lot of
bro.
companies pop up, but we
Like,
also see a lot of legislation
now it's getting
specifically
bad.
regarding to
Like, we were
temperance
just talking
and
about
regulation.
coffee before. Now we're talking about the
And we
craziest
also see
type
the
of shit.
first introduction of a lot of synthetic or at least processed chemicals that we now would consider to be pharmaceuticals. It's truly crazy how fast things have developed. And I guess these are all more or less of a byproduct of the Industrial Revolution, which I would consider to be a huge landmark in civilization and human history as a whole. I bet you guys are curious about what are the craziest, scariest, and deadliest examples of drugs that people are taking in the modern day. And if that's something that interests you, then I have something for you. But unfortunately, it's not in this video. On screen right now, I want you to watch this playlist about the craziest drugs you've never heard of, in which I
That was a good video. That was a great video. Trust me, bro, has great videos. I love this fucking guy. Like, genuinely love this guy. Every video he makes is good, bro. Like, he doesn't miss. He genuinely does not miss. Listen, Chad, I have to go. That's enough from me. Alright. It's been fun, W Stream. This was very informative. We should watch more of these. We get smarter. I know y'all the niggas are like fucking stupid. So. Alright, bro. I'm out of here. W Stream. See you guys. Remember, Wednesday I'm playing scary games. Thursday I'll play Corsi game. and then we'll go from there. Yes, I am.